Okay, everyone, we've reached Thursday. Wonderful, glorious Stevie is back as well. Stevie, did you know that around 40% of our wonderful viewers aren't yet subscribed to Celtic AM? Just what are they playing at?
Sad, very sad, Hamish. And I tell you what, see more people that subscribe, the less I'll be on. So there's an incentive for everyone. The more people that subscribe, you'll get better viewers instead of scraping the barrel with myself. How good a deal is that?
Excellent. No, I was just looking earlier, and it's interesting. Obviously, massively appreciate all of the people who have subscribed so far, and everyone who watches the video. To be honest, but come on, you know what to do. Stevie, how's things, mate? Personally, you don't need to touch on Celtic yet. We can
Right,
get to
oh, right,
that.
okay, good. Aye, personally fine. Just still, as the wee guys would say, let them cook, and that's all I've been doing to take my mind off Celtic these days. It's enjoyable, it's great, which is the complete opposite of going to Celtic Park or catching up with us on TV.
So you've just been making food and
Aye,
eating.
aye, aye, it's been brilliant. I love all that. You know, when you shut the pasta in and it boils, and then you cook the chorizo and you chuck that in and you let it simmer. Oh, it's beautiful. I love it.
Excellent, riveting chat. Long-term viewers will know that. Well, I was going to say I'm a big fan of the UK office. You are as well. So we were saddened to see the news last night that legend Ewan McIntosh, aka Big Keith, has sadly passed away. A truly legendary figure, Stevie. I'm sure many of the viewers will know who we're talking about. Favorite Keith moment? Have you got one? Thought we could
Love,
always start with a joke, you know.
well, larger than life, some may say, but it's got to be the one where he just kicks about his allergy. I love that one. That was brilliant, hilarious. And then a bit when he's at the printer and Brent is behind him. He's about to give him the card, stamps in his foot and goes clumsy. A classic. Brilliant, brilliant.
I use that in my life, like clumsy when like my girlfriend or whatever's like just being clumsy. I love that one. Also, one of my favourites is when I think it's the Ali G one when he's talking to Dawn and he's saying going anywhere on holiday and she's going the States and he goes United States. Just genius.
Peak practice. I like that one.
Oh, genius, man. Genius. Anyway, we thought as I say, we thought we'd start with a joke because it's always nice to do that. We'll move on to the miserable stuff now.
Good.
You were there on Saturday. You gave us a wee post match video. Sorry for putting you through that, but I think everyone appreciated your time. What was Saturday like, and have your thoughts changed since then?
No, not really. I've been consistent in how I felt about it, especially since the Ross County game. I've just not seen any improvement at all. Hamish, and Saturday was an all-time low. It really was, and it's just starting to feel very much opposite of remember that way under several managers in the past. Rangers, when they got past the winter break, they just went on just a slope. Basically, it feels
Yeah.
like we're doing the same. There's so many instances of it with Rangers. It just feels like we're now in that trend, and they're the way we were under Ange and Lennon after the break. It was terrible, and Saturday really was unenjoyable. And it wasn't just me. I think everyone round about Hamish as well just weren't enjoying it at all. Even in the first half when we scored, the celebrations were muted because I think you felt that the team that team that the manager set up and the way that they've been playing in their overall performances this season, there's been a real disharmony and a serious disconnect from, I would say, the start of the season. We've had some highs with the wins over Rangers and everything, and it's maybe distracted it from it. But overall, there's been like a real cloud over Celtic and the Celtic part this season as well. We just only maybe handful's actually been nice. I would say just a couple of decent performances there, and this was just another in the latest line of tedious performances at the ground. It was rubbish for before the game. That was great. That was fantastic. I'm not going to go into what I did, but let's honestly be assured that it was actually a good time that I had. But just to walk up to the ground and first half, everything connected with the game itself was just miserable. and we didn't even get beat. That's the thing. I'm talking like this after a draw, and I did say that you're going to get these types of results in a title race. I can accept that, right? But what I can't accept is performances like that. And I think you said it actually in one of your videos where it was like my voice was like more apathy and resignation, and you're spot on about it, because I would say the angriest I've been this season was the Hearts game, that Hearts 2-0 game, where I specifically, and people might not like this because I know that I'm going to be titled a boo boy here, literally was, like, stayed behind to shout abuse at the players because I was so raging. And I was just unhappy at that performance. I felt it was unacceptable, and nowhere near the levels that we know they're capable of. It was just a dire showing, but worryingly enough, see that performance on Saturday, I actually do think right now they were playing at the levels that right now they're showing, why they're second in the league. I think that is what they're capable of right now, and that's what worries me. I think the Hearts game, I was expecting more, and as the weeks have went on now, I'm like, you know what, maybe that is all this team. Maybe that's all this team can give, and it's really it's alarming, to be honest. And we're only, as I say, we're not even in March yet. 2 and a bit more months to go, Hamish. But yeah, I don't think I'm the only one that will obviously feel like that at Celtic Park. But it was just a general apathy all round the stadium, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, I must admit that's a feeling that I've kind of been getting more, certainly after the weekend, like that feeling of, is that all this team has to offer, and is the, like, I remember, I was going to say I hate going back to the COVID season, but like obviously people kind of like to do it because there's certain similarities. There's differences as well, but there are certain similarities with what's going on at the club at the moment. And that whole season, we kind of told ourselves, we'll click into gear. This will be the moment. Ismaila Soro's going to save the season. David Turnbull's going to save the season. And like bits of that have been mirrored this campaign with various players who we kind of have said, oh no, doing this will change your fortunes and all of that. And like it's happened for a few games, but it's just never happened at a consistent point. And the thing I was holding on for this season was, with all due respect to Neil Lennon, a great figure in our club's history, but in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would hopefully agree, Brendan Rodgers is a superior manager. Brendan Rodgers has managed at a high level, and my feeling is always, like, this isn't a Lennon team we're watching this season falling apart. Rodgers will find a way to get this back on track because he is a good manager. I think I would have said top manager, maybe even elite manager at the start of the season. I've kind of got my doubts nowadays about him. But I always felt that he would be fine because we had Brendan Rodgers back, this amazing figure. And I must admit, I've just got my doubts now whether this is going to work at all in this season, whether this is our lot, and whether we are ever going to see the team go on some sort of run of consistency and kind of turn that corner. I really hope I'm wrong, but I can't understand in my head, like on Saturday, I don't want to spend too long on it, but on Saturday, why the team weren't completely up for that. Like it's not as if they've got like a European game before it. It's not as if it was on the plastic pitch at Rugby Park. It's not as if we're 20 points ahead in the title race or 20 points behind and there's nothing to play for. That was a massive game. You're neck and neck, a chance to go 3 points clear. And yeah, in the first half we were all right, but it still wasn't anything special. And that second half was just waiting for Kelly to score. And I just can't understand why they wouldn't be up for it. And it almost gets me thinking, is it a question of being up for it, or is it just that these players aren't particularly good?
I think the one thing that's stood in my mind ever since, this disastrous run of form and some of these poor performances, and if you cast your mind back to the start of December against St Johnstone, and I'm pretty sure at half-time Brendan said it's the angriest he's ever been. Now, we obviously remember we came back and we won the game 3-1. Still a diabolical performance for about an hour. Excuse me. But, we got the game. We won the game. We got the 3 points, and it was a case of moving on. And after that, we thought, right, okay, maybe. I don't think we'd ever, imagine Brendan Rodgers, being like that, because he's always been quite a calm, soothing personality. He's never really, you don't ever see him losing a rag. And I think we were all saying, to each other at the time, geez, it must have been something. But I think we liked it. I think we liked the fact that, there was a fire there was a hunger there was a passion, there was an energy, and you're like, right, good, I want to see this. And maybe now these players will kick on. And maybe now, we're not going to go through the stages and go through the motions anymore. But the thing that concerned me after that was how he actually singled out a couple of players and he questioned their mentality. Now, you then go to after Kilmarnock and especially after Hearts, and he does the same thing, but instead of actually, keeping it all in-house, he actually comes out publicly slating the players. These are players that that has been identified by him or the club, who knows. I have my doubts there, that's another story. But these are players that are, just new signings. They're players that have been there and just won a treble. But he's coming out, and these are players, that are capable, as we've seen last season. A good few of them are capable of playing really good high-intensity football. But he's come out and he's questioned them. And he's questioned their integrity, he's questioned their quality and their commitment in general. As far as to say they're just no good enough. Now, again, his big hope was getting to January and strengthening, and I'm sure we can do an episode of that itself. But if I'm a player in a dressing room, and you know what egos are like in a dressing room, you know what cliques are like in a dressing room, right? It doesn't matter what level you play at, Hamish. I dare say in the modern era, professional footballers are even more precious than what they were maybe 10, 15 years ago. But I would imagine some players would be really unhappy at hearing these type of comments. That you'll get a few that will probably go, do you know what, we deserved it, got a thick skin, got to go on with it. We're getting paid very well by the club and we owe it to the fans to go out and win every week. That is the pressures of being at Celtic. But some players, as we've seen this season, I personally don't think they've got it. I don't think they've got the chops, shall we say, Hamish, to cope playing for Celtic week in, week out, to win week in, week out and deal with that pressure and the demands of the fans week in, week out. I just don't think they do it. So if you're that type of personality, and I'm not going to say some players' names, I'm not going to hit out with them here, but you know exactly who I'm thinking about. They'll be the same type of player in that squad. So if you've got, it's one thing having the fans on forums and social media having a go at you, right? I'm sure the players do see that and they should be like, whatever, shut up. It's just to the back of your mind. Same with the papers and the media criticism. But when you've got a manager criticising you, and this is a guy that's supposed to have your back through thick and thin, especially in public, and then it's giving the papers and the fans a narrative, that's just never sat well with me. And ever since that, yeah, okay, I know we've won a couple of games and we beat Rangers too, but overall, that's going to stick in your mind no matter what. When things aren't going well, if you do there's a passage of play, it's not going well, or you try and beat a player, you're getting criticised for it. It's psychologically, there's got to be something in there that says, well, wait a minute, am I good enough? My manager's came out saying I need replaced and I'm nowhere near it. So I do personally believe there's something in it. I think that was a mistake for Brendan. I don't doubt the fact that he got angry at St Johnstone, we all were. But I think after that, he handled it completely the wrong way after the losses to Kilmarnock and Hearts, and that's on my mind is. Ever since then, nothing's really sat well. And if you look at this year onwards, I just believe that's got something to do with it. And that is just my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I take that point. I agree with lots of that. The one thing I would say in response is, like, for me, after that, it was the Kelly game first, wasn't it? And then Hearts a week later. And after that, we had the great reset, as they call it. I don't know if they do call it that, but clearly the team had some sort of a week where some home truths were shared, let's just say. And then we came out and we played Livingston the week later, and I don't think we were great that day at all, but it was a job done, tick. It was an improvement from Hearts the previous week. It was a 2-0 win from memory. And then gradually over those next 3 games before the winter break, we did improve our performances. I mean, we beat Rangers at home during that period. That's something none of us saw coming, I don't think, after Hearts and Kelly had beaten us. We looked like... Remember everyone was saying Rangers would turn up and batter us, and Celtic fans were saying that as well. But we found a way to win that, went to St Mirren and won just before the break. So the team clearly hadn't completely chucked it. I think the winter break came at the wrong time. That's not an excuse, I just think that's a fact. I think we would have kicked on after that St Mirren game. I think what ended up happening was we had a winter break, we had all the kind of negativity that the club brought upon themselves in the transfer window by not signing a left back, etc., and leaving the forward signing until the last day of the window. And I think all that kind of fed onto the pitch eventually, whether it was at the Aberdeen game or at Easter Road where we just won, or even at the weekend there. And I think basically we're kind of feel like we're back to where we were after that Hearts game, and I think the team this week needs to have had a similar kind of conversation, clear the air talks again, and they need to just reset. and go this weekend. Now, whether they're capable of that, I don't know if you can do that at least twice in a season. Because arguably we had one as well at the start of the season after that St Johnstone game. It's just been such a season of like a wee bit of momentum and then just a daft result, a draw away to Hibs or a draw at home to Motherwell or at home to St Johnstone. Like we've dropped so many points against the so-called lesser teams in the league. Do you hold out any hope for the team kicking on now? I mean, like, the thing you need to keep telling yourself, you're 2 points behind. 2 points is absolutely nothing with 12 games to go. 2 of them are derbies. Like, the team can still win this league, but something has to change.
Yeah, I'm reminded of 2008. I think I remember when we lost to 10-man Motherwell at Celtic Park.
That was a worse situation, more bleak than this, wasn't it?
Well, we were 6 points behind Rangers and we played 2 games more. And I remember Strachan after the game saying it's going to be near impossible, right? So, you know, we all remember what happened after that. He said that we couldn't afford to lose any more points after that game.
So what? I mean, I remember we won the league, but I'll be honest, you know, I was like 9 years old, 10 years old at that stage. I can't actually recall everything that happened. So what did happen, you know, in the final, however many games?
Well, one of the main things that happened was Scott Brown was going through, you know, he moved from Hibs to Celtic. So a lot of money involved in there. And you know, it wasn't in the best form. He was asked to play a different role. He wasn't as dynamic as for Celtic as it was for Hibs, you know, and there was a lot of pressure, as we know, playing for Celtic. And as well, he was going through a lot of personal problems, which we all know what happened after that season when it was revealed at the end of it, what he was going through with his sister. Now, Scott Brown, regardless, despite not playing well, he was holding back the team, you know, that season. And we were badly needing a change. And I remember Scott Brown got suspended, and that's when we saw, you know, just due to his suspension, Hartley and Robson came in, and it just changed everything. It gave us a solidity in that midfield. We were just overran by so many teams. I mean, Motherwell were coming to Celtic Park and just played right through us. Scott Brown was just all over the place. And of course, you know, my opinion on Scott Brown ever since goes down as a Celtic legend, no doubt. But that season, it was a problem. And I think, is it going to get to that stage again that we're going to need like a big player who's been underperforming? He's been fantastic for us. But let's just address it. Cal McGregor has been shocking. You know, his best 2 performances has been against Rangers, amazingly enough, where he's been allowed like the freedom of the pitch. But against everyone else, they've been man marking him. He can't do anything about it. He's been resorted to literally like just pointing all game. I've watched him in the entire second half, nowhere to be seen. And I know you talked about it in your video the other day, the bit where he just punted it up in the air. Like, very uncharacteristic of a guy like Callum McGregor. To me, that's a player that is going through a bit of is having some issues now. That's no on form and fit and firing Callum McGregor. And I know that, you know, it's not just as easy as taking him out the team, but I do think it's going to be something as drastic as that.
Would you move him forward? I mean, I would have Iwata in at the weekend with McGregor further forward. I feel like McGregor needs to get involved in the games more, and I just feel like, I mean, I remember that game against Hibs at home. Again, it wasn't a scintillating Celtic performance, but the midfield was better that night. Iwata was at the base, and it was McGregor, and I'm assuming O'Reilly was part of that as well. And McGregor was like really kind of leading the charge that night. He was running, you know, wide left. He was kind of putting crosses in at one stage, and I just feel it's that kind of drive we need from him. We almost need McGregor to get down and dirty in a weird way and have Iwata as that kind of calming presence behind them. That's what I would do at the weekend. My midfield would be Iwata, McGregor, and O'Reilly.
Yeah, I think you're right there. The only thing I would say be cautious with, and you know how much I like Tomoki Iwata. I've been talking him up for, you know, since he arrived at the club. I like him a lot, but I do also think we're in danger of the fact that Iwata not playing one of the ones where he's not playing every week, and it makes him, you know, one of the ones when it makes him better and better becomes a myth. Well, yeah, because I remember against Kilmarnock, the 2-1 defeat, Iwata was bullied. He was battered in that second half. He got taken off. It was shocking. Granted, the entire midfield, the entire team were terrible. And if you're Tomoki Iwata and you're looking to get the ball, I would say he's a tidy midfielder, and you're looking to get the ball for a guy like Nat Phillips who's just shelling it at you, you're going to lose confidence, and that's obviously what happened that game. So I'm not going to write Iwata off, but I would definitely be cautious about saying he's a saviour there.
Just to contradict you again, just disagreeing with you, mate, because that's what the viewers want to see. Did he? I could be totally wrong here. Did he not go off in that game against Kelly?
He
And
did, yeah,
then,
he did, yeah.
is that not when we conceded? Or
Yeah, no, we
am I
conceded. I think
misremembering?
it was his. I think Brendan took him off, and typically they run about the 60th minute or something. Or I think it might have been the 65th, but we were getting overrun. Granted,
Yeah.
Hamish, we didn't concede, but we were getting overrun. Like that goal was coming against Kelly. Where have I seen that one before? That goal was coming all game, and yeah, Iwata was come off. But yeah, I take your point. I think at this stage, you can't have Callum McGregor sitting as a six. I think he's got to be pushed further forward. I'll take him out of the team and go with something different. I don't think the second option is going to happen. So I
No.
think Iwata will have to come in for it. Something has to change because it can't be that same three again, Hamish. It just can't.
I don't know why. I just get maybe a strange feeling Rodgers might do that on Sunday. I just feel like he has tended to change things after poor results. Like for example, putting Ida in when the support were kind of calling for that. It was just quite obvious at that stage, and I think it's, for me anyway, it's kind of obvious now that something has to change in that midfield. Paulo Bernardo for me, yeah, I'm not 100% sure he's a player who can offer his loads starting. I know he's done it from time to time. For me, he could still be a big player in this run in, but it may be more off the bench. Odin Thiago Home, just for me isn't ready to play games at the moment in this kind of with this kind of pressure on us. Iwata is someone I just think at that base of the midfield, he calms things down, he allows McGregor to go about his business, and that should help O'Reilly as well. The other second point I'd make that I want to see on Sunday, I want Kyogo playing in that last man again. This Kyogo dropping into midfield nonsense needs to stop. I know, he scored that goal against St Mirren, and Rodgers was keen to point out that goal may only have been possible because Kyogo was in there. Kyogo is a player who thrives on that ball in behind. We saw it at the weekend from that cross. Was it from Ralston and the header? That's Kyogo at his best, and we need to see more of that from Kyogo, not Kyogo dropping into midfield. I don't know why that's been a thing at all this season. It just plainly hasn't worked, and I want to see him on that last man, and I want to see us trying to find that ball in behind. That's what I noticed. See, when we talk about that kind of return to form we had against Livingston, Dundee, Rangers, St Mirren before the winter break, the thing I noticed was we were trying to play more balls in behind. We were trying to, have go in behind the opposition rather than playing everything to feet. For some reason, we've dropped back to that kind of feet thing. You've seen the clips going about for Saturday's game. Stretch the game, Celtic. Get Maida running, get Kyogo running. I don't know if Palma is able to do that. He seems to always want to come to feet, which is part of the problem. But I think that opens up the space as well for the likes of O'Reilly and maybe McGregor and whoever else.
Yeah, I think it's just the lack of service. It's killing Kyogo, it really is. And yeah, as you say, Brendan mismanaging him. But no matter what, I mean, I feel like I'm going round in circles saying this as well. Like, I've been saying it week after week on what I do away for here, and honestly, I've been saying Kyogo has to be, getting in behind defenders. It has to be, the last man for us every time, and it just doesn't ever come out that way. It's always like he's feeding off scraps and he's dropping deep. And you look at that. I mean, I just sometimes feel we've not got players that can actually. Some of these players have been playing with Kyogo for the best part of a couple of years now. They should understand just how he likes the ball nice and early. Do you know what? Tom Rogic was just the master of that. The way that Rogic used to pick out Kyogo with a simple first-time ball to split a defence was beautiful, and we've just no
O'Reilly can do it though.
O'Reilly can, yeah, we can. Champions League, and O'Reilly's ball for Maeda was fantastic against the Mirren 3-0 game. It can be done. It can, but sometimes I'm wondering, with how rare it is that an anomaly? And the players sometimes are. Sometimes I wonder if it's the players that are taking the risks, but they're getting instructions from the manager not to. But I'd like to think to myself, like, that's what's going through my head, because when I do see, like, I was looking at Brendan a couple of times on Saturday, especially through passages of play where we were just, keeping it safe at the back, at 1-0 up, but doing absolutely nothing with it, inviting pressure onto ourselves. And I just never saw him getting animated. he stood the entire time. Before they say he's a calm guy. You don't really see him shouting the ball in anyway. But I just can't imagine. I can't get my head around any manager in that position. For any manager at Celtic seeing that style of football and not getting disturbed by it, not being affected by it. I was just thinking to myself, is this his instructions? The players are carrying it out, and anytime we actually do something that is, it's a bit risky and it's at least a reward, is that the players deciding for themselves? The leaders in the team stepping up and going, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm actually going to play the ball in behind. That's what goes through my head. But a lot, just like this season, Hamish, we've had to rely on our own narrative because just not a lot is making sense at the club, on and off the park.
Yeah, so we go to Motherwell on Sunday. It's a huge game. Fair chance we're going in 5 points behind, which is not a great place to be. It's going to be difficult. We've touched on this a little bit on the channel. Brendan Rodgers doesn't have a particularly good record in Lanarkshire at Fir Park. 4 times in his first spell at the club he won 1. It was that late Tom Rogic goal back in December 2016. And as we can see, drew the other 3 games after that. And then this season, of course, another late goal, this time from Matt O'Reilly, got us a victory at Fir Park away back at the start of the season. Seems a long time ago, that one. So not a great record. It's funny because we seem to be going through all these kind of weird grounds where he's not get great records, because there was Easter Road and Fir Park, and I feel like there might have been one before then as well. We managed to win at Easter Road. The record is better at Fir Park, I think, than at Easter Road. And from memory, I mean, for a start, I don't know how relevant like 3 games in the 2017-18 season are to what's going on now. But from memory, like those games, we kind of threw away the points. And certainly in 2 of them at the end with late Motherwell goals. I'm just not sure what to think about this game on Sunday, because I don't know what Celtic's going to turn up. I've kind of said throughout the season that I hope it could be a turning point, and like maybe a few months ago I'll be looking back at dropping points at the weekend and saying, right, the team will be better now. This is where we'll get a response from them. The truth is that I'm waiting to be convinced by Celtic now. I've spoken so many times this season about the team, turning the corner, and they've not done it. They've thrown in another poor result. So I'm just waiting to see what we see on Sunday, and we have to win the game. It doesn't need to be a sparkling performance. It just needs to be 3 points. But I do, having said that, think that the support need to see something really the support needs something they can latch onto and believe in on Sunday at Fir Park.
Of course they do. Whether they'll get it or not is another question though. But yeah, I remember the games at Fir Park you've mentioned. There was one where we drew 1 each there as well. I think Sinclair scored a very late penalty.
Yeah.
It just came into my mind.
The unbeaten run going, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and thank you, Hearts. Hope I'm not saying that.
That's the other ground that we've got. Yeah, he's lost a few times there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go on Sunday, because I have actually watched Motherwell a few times this season. Watched them in the Cup when Green at Morton put them out, and they were abysmal. I mean, Morton.
Yeah, terrible social life, man.
And it was a Friday night as well.
Yeah.
Sad, innit? Sad. It's sad, innit? Just sitting in watching the Scottish Cup on a Friday night. Not for me. I enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you like that one?
That's The Office, isn't it? Oh, yeah, genius.
You can tell it's just early morning for you. Hopefully the listeners enjoyed that one. You really are a shambles.
I did remember it for somewhere.
Yeah, so I watched the Morton bodied them in Motherwell were shocking, really bad. They threw away a 3-goal lead. We'd have been proud of that up at Pittodrie. And for what I hear, against Hearts, they did absolutely nothing as well. It was a very comfortable one for them. But yet, you just know any team poor in form, any team struggling now, and any team badly needing some kind of result to lift the pressure off their struggling manager, Celtic roll into town, or they roll up to Celtic Park, and things just immediately get better for them. Seen it with so many teams this season, and I'm now at the point, right, Hamish, where when it comes to Celtic and when it comes to getting a result or predicting it, and me saying, I think we should be fine, or surely we'll be okay, it's not because of what I'm seeing on the park. It's nothing that I'm seeing logically. It's nothing to do with any coherent system or any players in form. It's simply because we're Celtic and we should win. That's it. That's where I am. And that's maybe also part delusional, and that's quite alarming, and I can admit that. But that is still where I am, to the point that I will go into the Sunday's game knowing it's going to be horrible, knowing it's going to be a struggle, and see if we get the opposite. I'll be delighted. I mean, whether that happens or not is doubtful. But yeah, that's just where I am with it now. Nothing logical, nothing that makes sense. It's just a case of we're Celtic, look at our resources, look at our players. We should be having enough to beat Motherwell. Football doesn't work like that, and on Sunday I'm sure it also won't. But simply, what I would say, right, is if there's a result on Saturday that goes against us, Rangers beating Hearts, if we do drop points against Motherwell at Fir Park, we're obviously already getting into that game 5 points behind potentially. Now, if we leave Fir Park and it still is 5 points or even 4, that is going to be the point, right, where I'll say, I know there'll be 11 games still left to play, but I think for me that'll be the moment where I can then say, right, a Celtic team haven't got it. I hope it doesn't get to that stage. But how many times before have I wanted this Celtic team to prove me wrong, shut me up and stop me moaning? They've not been able to do so. So that is where I'm at.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Tynecastle to come as well, I know we've got Dundee, I think, at home in midweek next week. It's 3 tough games, but it kind of has to be 9 points at this stage of the season. Conversely, if we do come through it with 9 points, you start to go, right, okay, that's decent. But as I say, it's up to the team to do that. Listen, I'll chat a bit more about this game tomorrow. I don't know what I'll say to add to what Stevie has, but I'm sure we'll find something. Just before we go, major news. Work has begun on Celtic's brand new state-of-the-art training centre, say the club. It's described as a multi-million pound project that will see the venue, which used to host legendary teams like the Lisbon Lions, the most legendary team in our history, will become a base for the women's first team as well as girls and boys sides. This is obviously a positive move, Stevie. It's just hard to get excited about all that money being spent on a project like this when money is either not being spent on actually improving the team or being spent very badly on improving the team. Again, if this kind of story came out when the team was top of the league and performing well and all that, I think it would get a really good reaction. But as you can probably tell on wonderful social media, the reaction has been wholly negative to this. Not necessarily about the new state-of-the-art training centre, but just about the fact that, why are you spending money on this but not on a left back in January? That's kind of the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah, just, when you mentioned that we spent more money on a multi-million pound project, I just thought, where's it going to play now? Because that's all we seem to do when it comes to signing a player. I really am like Big Keith, isn't I? Honestly, he lives on through me and the terrible part. Nah, I know, you're right, it's hard. I mean, look, it's not a complete negative, but it is hard to get excited about it when things around the first team now are so dire. So yeah, that's where I'm with it as well. Just
fair enough. What are you doing for the game on Sunday? What's the plan?
Sadly, I will be watching it. I don't know where. I think I might need a drink as well. So I might go into good old Mollers for it. We shall see. But I certainly will need a pint or two. Hamish, what about you? In fact, you already told me what your plans are. So I already know what your routine is. So I'm not even going to ask you again. I do listen to you amazingly enough. No,
well, it's. It depends on the kickoff here. The Kelly game was a 2 a.m. kickoff here, so I'm not staying up for that. So I kind of get up in the morning, avoid my phone, avoid the score, and watch it with a bit of breakfast. But Sunday night is at 11 p.m. kickoff, so that's doable, obviously. So I stay up for those ones. Quite enjoy it actually. A wee bit of late night Celtic action, enough to give me nightmares on many occasions this season. But in fact, a record in those. Sunday midday games for you has been pretty good this season, I would say. I remember, off the top of my head, beating Hearts, away. In fact, that was maybe a later kick-off. It was maybe 2 or something, but we were good that day, and beating St Johnstone was good. And I think the Aberdeen game at home was that kind of kick-off. So I think generally it's been Sundays have been quite decent for us. It's just a shame that the other 6 days.
Sunday at Rugby Park, brilliant. I love that one.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, that was one, to be fair. So yeah, I'll be staying up for it on Sunday and hoping for some sort of positivity. Yeah, you never know. I mean, we might get a performance from Celtic this weekend that can just kind of give us all a bit of a boost, because we're all pretty low at the moment. I'm sure the wonderful viewers of Celtic AM will let us know what they're thinking about what we've said today, and how you're all feeling ahead of the game on Sunday. Last call, Stevie, for this week.
Yeah, as I say, to echo your opening segment, the more people that subscribe, the better. You won't need to put up with this type of patter off me. So, more people that do that, Hamish is bound to get better guests and leave me in the, well, I don't know, just leave me in the lurch. And
the doldrums.
Yes, that is where I deserve to be.
Yeah. But folk like you, Stevie. Folk really like you. I think they like you more than me at this stage. So yeah, I wouldn't be too harsh on yourself. But we'll see how the subs go. That'll be the real acid test for whether people like you or not. If the subs jump up, they clearly don't. If they don't, they do love you. Right, thanks for your time again, Stevie. Get away to your bed or whatever time it is over there. And yes, as I say, I'll be back tomorrow looking ahead more to the Motherwell game. Between now and then, take care, and I'll speak to you then.